Hi there, Vikas here from Career Hustle. Today we are going to discuss an extraordinary story of two giants. In easy terms, let me tell you, this story is hypothetically about a big fat boy who was actually bullying the principal of his own school. I chose this story because in a way this story is a reflection of our country, the development that we have seen. And directly or indirectly, it really affects each one of us. I created this video after a careful research of more than 50 hours. And in doing so, I read a lot of blogs, watched a lot of videos, also watched a lot of interviews to crunch down this story for you in under 10 minutes. Now, without any further delay, let's begin our extraordinary story. Now, let me tell you the real characters of this story. The real character, the fat boy which I mentioned in the beginning, is none other than Bombay Stock Exchange, which is BSE. And the principal of the school, which I mentioned earlier, it is none other than the Government of India. Yes, you heard me right, Government of India. So in this way, the fat boy, which is the BSE, was definitely bullying the principal, the Government of India. And this is where it gets really interesting. Stay tuned to find out more and watch this video till the end, as this story deals with a timeline which is of 90s. So I will have to clear the context before moving ahead in our story. So you'll have to be in this story till the very end to understand each and every aspect. So let the real story begin. BSE or Bombay Stock Exchange had a very humble beginnings, and the beginnings date back to the early 1960s when it was established under a banyan tree. By the time of 90s, it became a monopolistic giant. Monopolistic because it had no competition. I mean, there was no such a big stock exchange in competition to Bombay Stock Exchange. Now coming back to the other character of our story, which is the Government of India. As you can remember, it was during 1990. Dr. Manmohan Singh, as we know him, was the Finance Minister of India, and the Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. So by this time, as I mentioned earlier, Bombay Stock Exchange or BSE had become a monopolistic giant, and it had become so big that it didn't care for the regulation which was brought by the government, and people started calling Bombay Stock Exchange as a fearless elephant which can do anything that it wants. So the situation grew to an extent where Bombay Stock Exchange, or the fat boy in our story, became fearless elephant, and it didn't care for any regulation. Even Bombay Stock Exchange evaded taxes. It was not paying taxes to the government. Can you imagine an institution just by the virtue of it being a monopolistic monster was harassing or bullying the government? I mean, I haven't seen this anywhere, and this is what makes this story very interesting. I mean, एक तरफ हमारी सरकार है इतने बड़े देश की, और वहीं डेफिनेटली एक बड़ा संस्थान है बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज. बट एक संस्थान कैसे एक सरकार को, इतने बड़े देश की सरकार को बुली कर सकता है बाय नॉट पेइंग टैक्सेस, बाय नॉट पेइंग हीड टू द रेगुलेशन. एंड मैंने तो यहाँ तक पढ़ा है अपनी रिसर्च में दैट बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज वाज नॉट ओनली बुलिंग, बट इट वाज गिविंग threats to the government official who were coming down to their offices and trying to tell them that boss, this is not the way to do it. It was really a high negligent monopolistic behavior, and the government tried everything to make this situation correct, but nothing really worked out. And हमें ये story में ये भी समझना होगा कि वो दौर it was not an easy time. I mean, 1990s was definitely a very tough and challenging time for us as a country. India was struggling financially. Our financial deficit was very huge, and we didn't have enough money to import for more than 7 days. So after trying a lot of things, nothing worked out in the favor of government. So it was the brainchild of Dr. Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao to challenge this monopolistic and fearless behavior of Bombay Stock Exchange. So what they did was they created a committee known as Pherwani Committee. Pherwani Committee was established to find out the real stuff going on and what can be done. Pherwani Committee recommended to the Government of India, especially to Dr. Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao, that we need to establish separate stock exchange which will be transparent and which will be technologically advanced than the present scenario. And this turned out to be the biggest policy experiment by Dr. Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao. And thus a new exchange was created known as National Stock Exchange or NSE. It was established in the year 1994. Slowly and steadily after the establishment of NSE, business started pouring in. And you'll be surprised to know that in less than 10-15 years of time, NSE grew significantly and it grew exponentially. And आपको ये आश्चर्य होगा जान के that within 15 years NSE एक globally benchmark stock exchange बना India से. And Singapore even started doing business with us. And what followed? Rest of the world followed. And you will be amazed to know today National Stock Exchange is the biggest company of India, biggest unlisted company of India. And see, within a span of 25 to 30 years, it overshadowed, Bombay Stock Exchange, the big fat boy in our story. Let me tell you the numbers that NSE is doing currently. So, National Stock Exchange और निफ्टी में आज के दिन रोज कम से कम 1.8 billion की ट्रेडिंग होती है. The market capitalization of National Stock Exchange or Nifty today stands at more than $5.6 trillion. Yes, trillion dollars, which is more than the GDP of our country. So, you see, policy experiment undertaken by Dr. Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao paid off, and it gave us one of the finest stock exchanges in the world, National Stock Exchange. नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज ने बहुत ट्रांसपेरेंसी लाई हर चीज़ में. जैसे कि बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज एक बिग बॉयज क्लब बन गया था. कुछ लोग ही उसको ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं. जब ऐसा होता है, जब एक मोनोपोलिस्टिक जाइंट बन जाता है एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, और जैसे वो अपने पावर को अब्यूज कर रहा था. आपको याद होगा यही वो दौर था 1992 का, जब हर्षद मेहता स्कैम हुआ था अपने देश में. ऐसे स्कैम्स तभी होते हैं जब रेगुलेशन इजी होता है और सिस्टम में लूप होल ढूंढना बहुत आसान हो जाता है. सो हमारी कहानी में हम ये देखते हैं एक मोनोपोलिस्टिक जाइंट बीएससी, जो कि ना ही सरकार की सुन रहा था ना ही गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स की. एनएसई ने जैसे ही बीएससी को पीछे पछाड़ा, इस वॉट बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज अपनी एक सीधी लाइन पे चलने लगा. वो टैक्सेस फाइल करने लगा, वो अब सरकारी अफसरों को धमकाना उसने बंद कर दिया. इनसाइडर ट्रेडिंग होती थी बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में, वो सारी बंद हुई. एंड इट इज़ एन अमेजिंग स्टोरी बिकॉज जहाँ रेगुलेशन, जहाँ कानून नहीं चला, कानून का डंडा फेल हो गया, वहाँ कंपटीशन काम आया. जस्ट गेस व्हाट, कंपटीशन इतनी बड़ी चीज़ है. I mean, the story amazes me every time that I think about it. आपको क्या लगता है? Isn't this story interesting? मुझे comment में ज़रूर बताएं. आपको कितनी interesting लगती है ये story? And given the fact that ये इस दौर में हुआ जहाँ हमारा देश financially, economic struggle कर रहा था. So निफ्टी ने क्या किया? निफ्टी ने सेंसेक्स की मोनोपोली को तोड़ा, ब्रेक किया, ट्रांसपेरेंसी लाया सिस्टम में, जो कि विजन था डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह का. एंड टेक्नोलॉजी आने के बाद डेफिनेटली जो डिलीवरी कॉस्ट होती है वो कम हुई, क्योंकि अब एक फिजिकल पेपर किसी को चिट्ठी के रूप में नहीं भेजना है. अब सारी डिलीवरीज ऑनलाइन है एंड ऑटोमेटेड है एंड रियल टाइम है. दैट इज द मैजिक ऑफ इंटरनेट. सो जस्ट इमेजिन, जब इंटरनेट नहीं था तब हमारे लीडर्स का ये विजन था. दिस रियली गिव्स मी गूज़बम्प्स दैट वी हैव हैड सम रियली अमेजिंग लीडर्स. एंड कमेंट करिए अपनी राय, आपका क्या मानना है इस स्टोरी को लेकर. एंड डेफिनेटली एज आई एम न्यू टू यूट्यूब, आई वुड वंस अगेन रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू बी अ लिटिल फॉरगिविंग टू मी एंड शेयर करें इस स्टोरी को. आई होप यू एंजॉयड द स्टोरी ऑफ अ बिग फैट बुली बॉय हु वाज बुलिंग द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ द स्कूल, एंड इवेंचुअली द विनर वाज द स्कूल, द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ द स्कूल. So I hope you enjoyed it. So keep growing, take care. This is your host Vikas signing off from the Career Hustle podcast. Thank you.